Good evening, entertainment lovers, and welcome to The Real Deal. We've got a wild episode ahead for you. Rob White's got some music headlines, Angelo Auriemma's back with another Rant-gelo, and a whole lot more.
So break out the popcorn and obscure pop culture references. From Ball State University, The Real Deal starts now.
Hello and welcome to The Real Deal, Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. I'm Logan Sowash.
And I'm Madeline May. Now, before we start the show, we'd like to say that our head writer Brandon was out sick this week, meaning that the rest of the writing team had to pick up the slack and write all the bad puns without him.
So I'm safe from my tormentor for an episode?
Well, only time will tell, Log Dog. But while we wait, here's Rob White with this week's music headlines. Rob?
First up, Jennifer Lopez is set to star in NBC's live holiday musical Bye Bye Birdie in 2017. NBC's annual tradition of making live renditions of popular made-for-TV musicals started with The Sound of Music and continued adapting other musicals such as Peter Pan, Grease, and The Wiz. These renditions included star-studded casts who appear in them, such as Carrie Underwood, Christopher Walken, Vanessa Hudgens, Queen Latifah, and much more. Due to the fact that the Latin pop star/actress already performed songs from Bye Bye Birdie in some of her Las Vegas shows, J-Lo actually approached NBC with the idea herself, rather than the network approaching her. Although she may have a full schedule already, which includes her 40-show-a-year Las Vegas residency, being one of the stars in the TV show Shades of Blue, as well as trying to become executive producer for a few other TV shows, she'll also have to add this to her schedule as well. Next, Drake announced that he will be releasing a new project before the end of this year. The artist also premiered 4 brand new songs on his radio show, OVO Sound Radio, that might be included on the new project. Now, he said that this new project titled More Life will not be an album, but more of a playlist of unreleased music that him and his fellow artists on his OVO label have made in the past. Coming off the success of his last album, Views, which was already released 8 months ago and is one of the biggest hip-hop albums of the year, the Toronto rapper actually was quoted saying, "I want to give a collection of songs that became the soundtrack to your life." So this is More Life, the playlist. Although there is not a set release date for More Life, the project will be released sometime in December. Lastly, Prince's $10 million Paisley Park estate is now a museum for his fans. This famed estate was extremely private when the singer was alive, which only a handful of people had the privilege of visiting for parties or rare shows that Prince threw on very few occasions. This estate also served as the late singer's home up until his recent and sudden death this past April. Now, its doors will be open to the public as a museum for the late singer's legacy. It is said that the museum plans on keeping the estate looking the same way it did when the singer lived there, while also showcasing his awards, wardrobe, instruments, artworks, and even his notes that he wrote about his upcoming jazz album he was working on before he tragically passed away. Tickets for the museum are already up for sale online, and the museum expects around 600,000 people, which are estimated to visit the estate per year. That's all I have for this week's music headlines. Until next time, I'm Rob White.
Thanks, Rob. Logan, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm writing The Real Deal, live. A live musical version of the show starring Louis Wiesman. It's a bunch of parody Fish songs about entertainment news.
Logan, you never cease to amaze me.
Thanks. While I put the finishing touches on this musical number about the joys of post-production, here's Eli Brunsman with some Netflix binge recommendations.
When it starts to get cold, I get in the mood to watch Netflix for hours on end. So today, I'm going to talk to you about shows you can binge watch without getting bored. A show I watched in the matter of 2 days is Friday Night Lights. This show is about a high school football team that's fighting for a championship. I'm not a sports fan, but the show still drew me in. It's filled with drama, sad stuff, romance, and action. It pretty much has something for everyone. You guys have probably heard of this next one, but for the people who haven't, Stranger Things is an easy show to watch in one sitting. Its unique storyline and 80s pop culture references attract people of all ages. It's filled with unexpected twists, creepy monster stuff, and middle school kids being funny and cute. I have yet to meet someone who didn't enjoy this show. Next on the list is Gilmore Girls. Even though it sounds like a girly show, Gilmore Girls has stuff for everyone. It's extremely lighthearted and surprisingly witty, and you don't have to pay attention much to follow the plot. It's a very cute show, and it's perfect background noise for a lazy day. If Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead have you feeling emotional, binge on some Gilmore Girls to heal your soul. The last show I'm going to talk about is Skins UK. This show isn't exactly for the faint-hearted, but everyone should give it a shot anyway. It's so good that MTV tried to make an American remake. Keyword, tried. This show is filled with so many real-life issues, and there's a character for everyone to relate to. It's tragic, witty, and romantic, with 7 seasons to cry your eyes out to. I'm Eli Brunsman. Thanks for tuning in. Happy binging!
Thanks, Eli. I'm sure many Gilmore Girls fans cannot wait to see our old friends back on the screen.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be comforting to see Rory and company back on screen for all the Gilmore Girls fans out there.
I was thinking more along the lines of Lauren Graham's knife-sharp hair part, but that works too.
Good to know. Stick around, we've got Angelo Auriemma, Shelby Deal, and a whole lot more. We'll be right back.
Are you here?
Something is happening that we can't understand.
I'm concerned about your girl.
What's this about, Father? What are you doing? I'm not doing it.
This guy risks his life uncooking the books for some of the scariest people on the planet. Drug cartels, arms brokers, money launderers, assassins. Who survives this kind of clientele? Imagine the secrets this guy has.
How's it going? I don't like being followed.
You think you're invulnerable.
That's right. Maybe I rip your arm off and beat you to death with it. I'm sorry about this. Richard? I'm here to kill you.
Dante's Inferno isn't fiction, it's a prophecy. Someone created a plague.
Our population is spiraling out of control. Inferno is the cure.
They're gonna wipe out half the world's population unless we find this virus. They left a trail.
Let me look up on the hood. Is everybody all right?
Ma, I'm scared of you.
Ain't nothing out there.
My dad!
What the hell wrong with you? Oh, hell. Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jesus!
Welcome back, viewers. Logan, we're taping. Put your phone away.
Sorry, Madeline, but I'm a spoiler nut. I've got to find out what happens in this week's Cake Wars.
You know, it's probably going to be the Midwest baker with a heart of gold that wins, yeah?
Okay, you're attacking me and everything I believe in, and I need you to calm right down before I give a level but firm critique of your baked goods.
Oh boy. While Logan and I sort out our differences, here's Angelo Auriemma with this week's Rant-gelo. Angelo?
Spoilers. So rarely does a single word hold enough power to ruin friendships, force people to swiftly plug their own ears, or simply begin a debate as old as the entertainment industry itself. Recently, changes in media have pushed viewers to once again contemplate, in today's society, how long does one have to wait to spoil a movie or television show? Frankly, this is a debate that has no clear answer. However, I think that when looking for one, the best place to start is by separating our expectations between both television and film. First off, on the television side of things, when looking at the recent notable case from this past Walking Dead, I saw numerous accounts on all social media platforms grieving over a dead character whose body wasn't even cold yet. And I know the immediate defense of those spoiling the episode was, stay off social media until you see it, but we all know that that's kind of a cop-out. However, television is admittedly much more complicated than film now, primarily due to its accessibility in multiple different ways. A show may finish syndication, but will be put on streaming sites just a few months down the line for an entirely new audience, and hardcore fans argue that they should not be expected to stay quiet for that amount of time. In my opinion, television viewers should simply follow these guidelines. Once a show is off the air, spoilers are common knowledge, and when a show is currently airing on a week-by-week basis, it's fitting to wait at least until the next episode before shooting out the deets to the rest of the world. That way people at least have a few days to catch up and before having the hammer brought down on them. When it comes to film, however, I actually think that the negotiation is much simpler. Take it this way. If you didn't see a movie in its opening weekend, you probably weren't eagerly anticipating it. And if you didn't see it in its entire theatrical run, you almost definitely didn't care. And in the cases such as The Force Awakens or the final Harry Potter film, when a movie has straight up made $1 billion, you're kind of an outlier, and you shouldn't expect to be shielded from the common knowledge of a character's death or a simple plot point. Once a movie's out of theaters, it's fair game in my books. Once it's been out on DVD and Blu-ray and everything else for at least a month, it's on you if you get spoiled. But lastly, I would like to end today's rant with a plea to just everyone out there, no matter what side of the argument you fall on. That is, we as a society need to calm down about spoilers as a whole. Don't be that horrible person and ruin something for somebody else on purpose, but also don't be so sensitive when showing up late to the party and getting something even vaguely spoiled. For example, is it a spoiler to say at this point that in Game of Thrones everyone you care about dies? I mean, the same could be said for Roseanne, or Marley and Me, or I don't know, life? At the end of the day, this negotiation for spoilers timing falls on a median. This way it can clearly be decided who should be to blame here, either the person spoiling the content or the one who just waited too long to watch it beforehand. And with that, I'm done ranting for this week. I'm Angelo Auriemma. Rosebud is a sled, Darth Vader's Luke's father, and Bruce Willis was dead the entire time.
Thanks, Angelo. Madeline, in this last episode of The Walking Dead, I noticed something wild.
Logan, what are you doing? This is exactly what Angelo just said don't do.
What I was just going to say in the scene was really...
We're going to hand it off to Shelby Deal with the trailer watch before Logan ruins the show for our viewers. Shelby?
Movies are all about suspending your disbelief, and I think it is important to look at movies that test you in that department. So in today's trailer watch, the movies are all going to have a fantasy theme. The first trailer we are going to look at is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The movie is a spin-off of the Harry Potter series and is set place in 1926 New York, where there are rising tensions because non-magical people are trying to hunt down magical creatures let loose in New York. Unknowing of this, the main character, Newt Scamander, comes to New York with his briefcase full of fantastic beasts. So obviously, the best part about this trailer is that it takes place in the Wizarding world, and if you are a fan of Harry Potter, you're definitely as excited as I am about this movie. The trailer has all the promise and excitement of the original Harry Potter series. If I had to choose a favorite part about the trailer, it would be the very end of it. Newt and a Muggle are in a shoddy apartment and Newt's briefcase is in the middle of the room. Newt gets up, opens the briefcase, and walks into it because, you know, in the magical world, everything is bigger than it seems. Then he waves for the Muggle to come on in with him, and the look of surprise on the Muggle's face is priceless and hilarious. Not only was this funny, but it makes me excited for the movie because it seems like the movie is going to have more wizard and Muggle interaction. And we did not get a lot of that in the original Harry Potter movies. This movie is going to show a whole new dynamic in the Wizarding world, which is very interesting when an audience is already invested into the world in which the movie takes place. This movie comes out November 17th, and I would definitely go see it because I love the Harry Potter movies, and I want to see other aspects of that world. The last trailer we are going to look at is Wonder Woman trailer. The movie is based on the DC comics of the same name in which an Amazon princess becomes Wonder Woman. I was very excited about this movie because I think we have yet to have a superhero movie solely dedicated to a female superhero, so this is very awesome. And the trailer itself only furthered my excitement. My favorite part about the trailer is the fighting sequences. You know how in some superhero movies the fighting seems a little bit cheesy? They use slow motion in a way that is supposed to be dramatic, but just makes the audience want to fast forward through it. And then they use dramatic close-ups of an actor's anguished face with a very tension-producing song in the background, and it just makes you cringe. Well, in this trailer at least, Wonder Woman did not have any of that. There were definitely slow motion, but it was used in a way to emphasize moves and not for a whole fighting sequence. For example, in one scene, Wonder Woman jumped through the air and the editing was done to slow her down through the air. That served to make Wonder Woman look graceful as she was fighting someone, which is very Wonder Woman. The movie comes out June 2nd, 2017, and I would definitely go see it because I am a fan of superhero movies that are not extremely cheesy, and I want to see if Wonder Woman lives up to my expectations.
Thanks, Shelby. Man, I can't wait to relive my childhood and go see a new Potterverse movie in theaters.
Hopefully it'll make up for when they ripped my heart out and killed all my favorite characters in the last couple movies.
Yeah, I was really upset when they killed Lavender Brown, Bellatrix Lestrange, and Andy, the buck-toothed Wonder Boy.
What movies are you watching? Anyway, coming up we have Brandon Krakowski and Whitney Perry.
Welcome back. I've just been thankful that Brandon hasn't been around to ruin another episode of the show. You know, he just walked onto the news desk.
You know, just because he missed a meeting doesn't mean he can't still be on the episode.
Well, I guess I was a fool for expecting safety this week.
Here to talk about an album that he thinks slips under the radar of a lot of people is Brandon Krakowski. Brandon?
Would you believe me if I said that Randy Newman secretly rules? Though you may mostly know him for soundtracking your childhood, he has also had a surprisingly long and celebrated career starting in the 70s, crafting wry piano pop. Many people know of his controversial hit Short People, which was so biting and well executed in its satire that it was banned from the state of Maryland for far too long. However, his 70s output wasn't all semi-novelty songs. Newman was interested in a wide spectrum of the human experience and the humanistic elements behind groups he and his listeners would normally never consider the perspectives of. Nowhere is this more evident than his album Good Old Boys, a secret piano pop classic that satirizes, empathizes with, and analyzes conservative Southern culture. The album kicks off with perhaps the most incendiary of Newman's songs. Rednecks is a scorching of the earth satire of Southern post-segregation social constructs and the people that perpetuated them at the time. What other artist would be so audacious as to start their album with a song containing a chorus that states that its subject matter doesn't know their own ass from a hole in the ground? While the tone being set right out the gate and a chorus I dare not repeat, the album's on a roll. The following track establishes the narrator of the album, a factory worker from Birmingham with a wife named Marie, a song called Birmingham. Here, the satire is less apparent, instead focusing on character building for the rest of the album. We begin to empathize and understand our narrator, and the track is a nice return to the comfort after the savagery that was Rednecks. The next track, Marie, is a really beautiful ballad. It's told from the perspective of our drunken narrator who notes that being inebriated is the only way that he can show affection to his wife. Randy's warbly delivery and delicate instrumentation helps sell this song and skirts right away from being trite. After the fun, lighter Mr. President pity on the working man, we get perhaps my favorite cut on the record, Guilty. Our narrator, again under the influence, delves into the aspects of his life that he's less than proud of. Everything from his drug usage to being unable to show affection to anyone. It's an achingly beautiful and heartbreaking track. Backed by a plodding, slightly eerie instrumental, the whole piece is just laced with this really palatable regret and weariness that really sells the story. I feel as if this song would be right at home in a Broadway musical, with our main character reaching a moment of emotional absolution. It's followed by another punch in Louisiana 1927, with our narrator detailing the story of the 1927 floods of Louisiana over a beautiful, wonderfully arranged string section. The song deals with the concepts of the impoverished being washed away or ignored in the face of tragedy or circumstance. The jaunty interlude, Every Man a King comes and goes, making way for Kingfish, an affecting tribute to Huey P. Long, the Louisiana governor who helped create Southern infrastructure. The novelty-ish Naked Man is a delight, transitioning into the sparse, march-like Southern Cherokee wedding, an affectionate portrait of Southern love and marriage. Back on My Feet Again and Rollin' end the album with hope amongst the turmoil, allowing our narrator to find his center and to continue on from there. The album's character study is stunning. Through its 12 tracks, we learned so much about this man and the culture he was brought up in. I've seen movies with far worse character development, and they have the advantage of being visual mediums. Newman's warmth and care for his subjects is evident. No track apart from Rednecks feels particularly mean, but you know, that track uses the N-word to make its point, so that's kind of this whole other thing that I don't want to get into right now because I want to leave the studio alive today. There's so much to talk about with the song lyrics themselves, I almost don't have any room to talk about anything else. Randy Newman's performances are especially great and emotional, providing the same appropriate amount of snark, vitriol, and emotional honesty he's known for. He supplements his sharp pen with incredible delivery. There's never a moment where you would think, is Randy Newman really into this piece? Because he always is. The instrumentals, while not always completely stunning, are very tightly arranged and performed, and do often enough have flashes of brilliance to prevent this from being a monotonous listen. Whoever arranged those strings for Guilty deserves all the awards, man. Randy himself plays the piano with incredible care and delicacy, further making his case for being the second best pop pianist of all time behind, of course, Ben Folds. The tracks are also brilliantly sequenced, with every new emotion and beat making complete sense in regards to the album. I urge anyone who merely thinks of Randy Newman as the Toy Story guy to listen to this freaking thing. Before this record, all Newman was to me was You've Got a Friend in Me. Though I should have listened to the truth sooner, I can now initiate my task to spread the gospel of Newman to all that will listen. Though his other albums such as Sail Away are more well-known and still absolutely worthy of a listen, I find Good Old Boys to be his greatest statement as an artist. Though this album is not always an easy listen, and it's definitely not in a style that all will mesh with, it's worth hearing out for the sheer storytelling ability put on display. I have no idea why this thing isn't celebrating more. Probably because Rednecks was the first track. But in seriousness, I do acknowledge that this album does have a political stance and a lean to it, and that perspective is unavoidable when you absorb this as art. However, if you are willing to hear Newman out, I'm sure anyone on either side of the spectrum can find something worthwhile. Check out Randy Newman's Good Old Boys, it's under the radar. I'm Brandon Krakowski.
Oh, thank you, Brandon, for that review and a decent nap.
Did you just fall asleep?
He writes so much, I catch up on the lost sleep whenever he's at the desk.
Okay, I'm a little jealous I didn't think of it first, to be honest. Anyways, we started the show off with some news, and we're going to close it with some news.
Here with this week's Hollywood headlines is Whitney Perry. Whitney.
Well, Katy Perry took Halloween to the next level with her Hillary Clinton costume. Katy attended to Kate Hudson's annual Halloween party as the Democratic presidential nominee. She completed the costume with a wig, facial prosthetics, and a red pantsuit to complete the Clinton trademarked look. Perry decided to document her transformation on social media so fans can get an inside peek into the process. She also posted a photo on Instagram of herself while final touches were being applied. She won in my book. Way to go, Katy. Neo and Crystal Smith's child is back at home after a health scare. The couple had to take the child to the hospital. Smith went on Instagram and had a heartfelt message for their 7-month-old son. She wrote, "You are so strong and such a fighter. Nothing is going to slow you down." And it continues on. A day later, Smith revealed on Snapchat that the child was recovering. She thanked the fans for their ongoing support. Taylor Swift did the most nicest gestures. Recently, she made one family's life a little easier when she donated $5,000 to a GoFundMe page account to help pay for a funeral arrangements for teenage fan Katie Carter. Katie's sister had said that Taylor even posted a sweet message to the family. She wrote, "Kimmy, no words could express how sorry I am for your loss. I know that you will keep Katie's memory alive. Please know how much I am thinking of you and saying a prayer for your family. All my love, Taylor." That's all for Hollywood headlines. I'm Whitney Perry.
Thanks, Whitney. I'm sure Katy Perry's costume got a roar from other partygoers.
Excuse me? Those terrible puns are mine?
Well, I guess I'm the dark horse on the show when it comes to puns.
God, your pun game is really hot and cold.
My puns are gonna go off on the show like a firework.
All right, that was pretty good.
We'll be right back with our final word.
Through the mystic arts, we harness energy and shape reality. We travel great distances in an instant.
How do I get from here?
The United States government designed to bring death to the enemy.
Well, I'm sorry, Sergeant. I can't touch a gun.
You don't kill.
No, sir.
You know, quite a bit of killing does occur in war.
Private Doss does not believe in violence. Do not look to him to save you on the battlefield.
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
In here? What you doing in bed with that woman?
A precious skill that has traditionally been handed down from father to son. But now a young girl is setting out to become a master eagle hunter.
Why do I live in a heavily fortified survival bunker? Because right outside my door lurks a nightmare. Named Poppy.
A 5, 6, 7, 8. Everybody.
Poppy is the leader of the trolls, and it's not her.
Okay, get this, Logan. I started doing something new and educational on Netflix.
You can use Netflix educationally?
Mostly no, but this is genius. I'm no longer in Spanish classes at Ball State, and I can feel my brain being drained of the little Spanish cells. So I've started watching animated kids movies in Spanish. Not only am I brushing up on my conversational Spanish, they're kind of comical. I have a Spanish friend who often complains that there aren't vocal variations in Spanish-speaking movies like there are in English, so he likes English movies better. And it's true! I recently watched Home in Spanish, the movie about the little purple alien who creates one screw-up after another, and it was hilarious. The problem with Spanish alien movies is that sometimes I don't know if they're speaking in their extraterrestrial language or Spanish. Both are pretty foreign to me.
Ay caramba. That sounds a bit crazy, though I completely understand. As someone who has taken 3 different languages in the past decade, it's really enjoyable to kind of test yourself by watching films in those languages. While I don't usually try to watch English films in another language, I really do enjoy testing myself with foreign entertainment. When I took Spanish in middle school and high school, I really enjoyed picking out the words I knew during the conversations between characters in those films, while also noticing how the sentence structuring is different for native speakers. This is also very apparent in Japanese films where the dialogue is lightning fast and nearly impossible to translate on the spot. In that case, I just stuck to translating signs and on-screen writing when I could.
Logan, are you sure your problems with Japanese involve this fast speech? You sure it wasn't because you were horrible at Japanese?
That was totally unrelatable. Don't think into it. Moving on, I also love watching German foreign films because that is the most recent second language that I can pick apart while watching. It helps me not only with my pronunciations and how fast I should speak the language, but also with challenging me to see how much has stayed in my brain since my last class. All in all, I completely agree and understand doing something like that what you do with Spanish on Netflix. In fact, I might just do that after the taping. I've always wondered what Guardians of the Galaxy would sound like in German.
Wow, I'm glad I could show you the light at the end of the Netflix foreign language tunnel. But seriously though, what language were those aliens speaking in?
I don't know. And with that said, that wraps up the show for this week. Be sure to check out our website, Facebook, and Twitter pages for all news and updates on all things entertainment. I'm Logan Sowash.
And I'm Madeline May. We'll see you next time.